just realized I think everyone could hear me say one. Tim and I are trying to figure out how to start this recording. Is this going live on anything, or are you just recording it for YouTube?
YouTube, yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, here we are. It's,
One day we'll
Swing
go live.
Thoughts. Yeah, we could do that. You know, it's funny, the Humble and Fred show, we started doing... well, we had been streaming on Twitch for a long time, and then we started streaming on Facebook a couple of years ago, but we didn't let the video go because I couldn't be bothered. And then once the pandemic hit, and we were doing this format every day, we just started running the stream, and as I told you a few months ago, it's interesting, we actually get a good gathering of people who watch it live. And I'm assuming, we should do that one day. We should actually do a special Swing Thoughts with a bunch of our, friends here on Zoom and actually stream it live. I think people
Absolutely.
would like that.
We'll get that organized.
Why not? Do a special maybe midsummer Swing Thought, jamboree. And you're such a great marketer now. You probably have like buttons and like you'll have a special commemorative Swing Thoughts plate maybe.
Our Swing Thoughts merch. We're making that. See, now this show is really going someplace. 6 years traction. Now we're getting it into merch, or at least talking about it.
I'm golf spiritual leader, obviously, and with me is Coach Tim. This is Swing Thoughts, year 6. Multiple award-winning podcast. It's some obscure awards, but we've won a lot of them.
We won't get bogged down.
We don't want to get bogged down in the details of all the awards we've written. I've won.
Well, I don't want them to go to my ego nor yours, so we'll just
exactly. We just how about this? Be comfortable knowing you're listening to award-winning golf mental podcasts. This program is brought to you by JWapparelinc, Inc. Tim's got a nice, I'm going to guess, is that a B-Dratty, Tim, or a zero restriction, or a fairway and green?
This is an F&G. We're getting
Nice.
so comfortable we're speaking in acronyms now.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm wearing, this is a no restriction. And
It's actually a zero restriction.
I'm sorry, zero. That's right. That's right. This is why we have won all the awards.
It's a sans restriction.
Yeah. This has a zero restriction. Okay, I'm going to put the music down. Although I do, one day we should just do the whole show over that song.
Totally. Just put it on a loop.
Yeah, why not? They're JWapparelinc.com. Fantastic. And, of course, TaylorMade Golf.ca. Whether you're looking at, the way that the company has changed the shape of the driver, the Sim 2. I get asked this all the time. I'm sure you do too. And it's a legitimate question. How much better is this than, say, the last version? And I can only tell you from experience, because I used the Sim, last year's Sim, loved it. The Sim 2, I can only say, and I've said this before about their equipment. Yes, the good shots will be great. And I don't, they might go a little bit farther, but what you'll really notice is the off-center, twist-face, whatever shots just seem to go better. And the Sim 2 is is another level of that. So, that's what I would say. What would your thoughts be?
Complimentary. Absolutely. I'm right on the same track. So I played last night, men's night at Blue Springs, and I hit 2 par 5s and 2.
Wow.
The second one was just short of it.
Were you playing the red tees,
seriously,
the kids tees? Were you? Sorry.
Come on.
Tim. I'm just giving you a little business. Oh, look how sad you got.
I just feel my body. You just feel my body deflate. You just see me go. Ooh.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry. I would have thought you'd have just told me to fuck off. I'm sorry. Okay, you did a good job, Tim, buddy. Okay, so you hit the 2 greens in 2.
I played from the Blues.
All right.
But I was surprised how far I hit the ball for a person of 64
far hitter.
years.
Buddy, you can hit it far.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of surprised. I think, I'm feeling strong these days, but with no bullshit, I think this driver, the Sim 2 Max driver, for me, Perhaps it's also the technology, a different shaft, whatever.
Yeah.
I've gone from 10.5 to 9.
Yes, sir.
But I'm getting a lot out of that. I can't believe how, like on 12 at Blue Springs, there's
That's
like
the
a
par
little,
five with the tree in the middle.
yeah, just kind of on that
Yep.
left-hand side.
Yep.
It was just down into that little valley. If it just got caught in the rough, it had gone down. I would have hit it where the kids hit it.
Okay. I'm sorry I made that crack about the red tees.
You're forgiven.
TaylorMade's longest and most forgiving driver ever played by Tiger, DJ, Rory, Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, Matthew Wolff, who had a nice U.S. Open, and Nick Taylor, the Canadian golfer. Here's a segue. I was going to say I felt bad for Mackenzie Hughes, only in that, golf's tough, and he had a tough final round, but I felt good about the way he seemed to take it in stride. We've had, did we have Caux on the show? Because I used to work with Caux a little bit. That's
No,
Mackenzie's.
we've never had Scott Caux on the show.
So Caux works with Mackenzie, and I worked with Caux briefly for a bit back in the fall of, I want to say 2018. Very interesting guy. And Mackenzie Hughes has got a great attitude. And I was proud of the guy. He did golf's. He shot 77. And as Hank Haney said in his podcast the next day, kind of what he predicted that Mac and the other guy would shoot, Russell Henley.
Yeah. Well, didn't Mackenzie Hughes beat Bryson in the final round? What did Bryson end up shooting? I don't know. It was like, talk about an implosion.
44, yeah. He shot 77. He shot 44 on the back nine, which is a really interesting takeaway for the rest of us. Bryson DeChambeau is one of the top 5 players on planet Earth, and he hit 2 or 3 shots. Did you see that hole that he fucked up?
Yeah.
Hey, could you do me a favor? Can you just turn down your speakers a little bit? Because I'm starting to hear myself a little bit through your speakers.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what, Coach Tim? Let's take that hole as a great cautionary tale for the rest of us, because the mistake he made was the first shot he hit after the tee shot. Because all he had to do was go sideways, which is what everyone should do. Yep. And then he would have been about 220 to the green, 215, maybe a 6-iron, 7-iron for the guy. But the most he was ever going to make, if he goes sideways, was par or bogey. And I think making triple there, basically, just, your wiring gets all screwed up.
Oh, totally. Well, when you're in competition, I mean, obviously I have no, only from talking to people in the, at that level, just like the level of focus and how alive your body is and all that stuff. When you take the balloon, when you prick the balloon of the possibility is gone, it's so hard to maintain it. And I just think that he plays with such frenetic energy that energy has to find some kind of direction that stays there. Otherwise, I just think it sort of like explodes. Like when I watch him get ready for a tee shot, like just the way it builds up, that energy is building up. I can just imagine the energy until it just kind of like takes off like a rocket. And I think that energy, if it's not directed someplace, it's going to go sideways.
Agreed. Let me just, I like to use this phrase because it makes me sound like I'm in corporate business. Can we just put a pin in that for just 1 second, Tim? Do you mind?
I agree. Yes, counselor.
Because I want to talk about his tee shot routine. And
cool.
Our good friend Sean Casey and I have been talking about that. I've been, since the indoor season, I've been going to see Sean at his place in Burl Oak. Fantastic indoor facility. We'll talk about that some other time on a show. But just to really, Sean's really taken this sort of entrepreneurial path. Anyhow, so Sean and I were talking about why he does that and what that can be a lesson for the rest of us. The reason I like it is now when you watch Bryson DeChambeau, what he's doing from a neurological standpoint, to your point about this energy, what he's doing is he's getting his body ready to hit a driver, which is different than what you need to do to hit a sawed-off chippy wedge, 115.
Yeah.
And what Sean and I were saying is, you think about it. So let's say, you play at our course, you might, or your course, you might play a par 4 where you didn't use driver, followed by a par 3, and then there's a par 5 where you want to hit driver. So now it might be 3 or 4 holes since you've hit driver. And again, it goes back to commitment, routine, process. So you get on that hole where you haven't hit driver in, let's say an hour, 45 minutes, and you just get up, and without a practice swing, most players, most of our amateur friends just get up, barely take a practice swing, and then try and swing their longest club, the hardest that they're going to make a swing, all day. So what Sean said to me is, if you think about it that way, before you hit driver again, take some driver swings. Takes maybe not DeChambeau level, but certainly take a few good hard cuts at it, so that you're basically telling your body, hey, this is what's coming. You'd never see a baseball player, go into the on deck circle and not swing that bat hard, because they're about to try and swing it as hard as they can.
I love that. That just makes a ton of sense.
So thank you. It's funny because a lot of people look at DeChambeau, myself included, before Sean pointed this out to me, and thought, what is he doing? But even so, now that I've noticed it, even non-DeChambeau tour players, you'll see them take a good, they all do their, whatever their routines are, but you watch them before they hit driver. They take a couple of good, hard, swift practice swings, because you're trying to prime your brain and your body, Timothy.
Well, isn't that what we're doing with the super speed sticks?
Absolutely. I'm just talking that again, put a pin in that for a second. I'm just talking about on course good practices, right? Especially, and another thing, my friend Henrik, who I was on the phone with before you started recording this morning, our friend Paul, he always tells me that. I said, how many practice swings do you take when you chip? I go, I don't know, a few. He says, you really should, watch, and again, watch guys on TV. How many practice swings they take around the green? Some of it's dozens. Whereas most of us, again, self-conscious, don't want our friends to make fun of it.
Yeah.
We get up there sometimes. I see people play without even a practice swing. Like, I'm trying to hit it from here just to there. Well, I want to just get that feel. And you watch good players. They do it over and over and over again until they feel they found, as Henrik said, you're trying to find what you think is the amount of effort to put into that shot, which is, again, similar to Bryson.
But that's a GSL maxim from years. It's when it's your turn, take your turn.
Take your turn.
Exactly. I remember watching Jeff Ogilvy on number 2 at Glen Abbey. I think he had short-sided himself, so he's trying to hit this little floppy thing, and I think I counted 12 practice swings.
Yeah.
Because it's getting your body, like, sort of connect back to Bryson and preparing for liftoff. It's priming your body and then letting it do its thing. How many pins we got going here?
I can't. Here's the funny thing about the first pin. I can't remember what it was.
Okay, I'm gonna just go back to Bryson.
Can you go back 1 pin?
No, I'm gonna go back 2. I think.
Okay.
So, because I think 3 would go back to Mac. 2 would be to go back to Bryson and his liftoff routine. I think what I mean about Bryson, he just has this frenetic energy. It actually makes me uncomfortable watching him. I remember last year in the US Open, it was like, I didn't like watching him. It was the same way. Remember when Sergio at Beth Page Black was like the regrips, unos, dos, tres. I can't watch it
forever. I know.
It makes me uncomfortable. And so I just have a sense that energy and the way he reacts, he hits a bunker shot or a chip and it doesn't go. It's like, I don't know. The guy's won a major. He's amazing, but I think there's sort of a maturation that needs to happen in terms of channeling that energy. In the same way, Spieth. Remember, like Spieth early in the day, like he still
talks to his ball.
Absolutely, which I love, but I don't find that it's as frenetic between him and Greller now, and that sort of pre-shot process and got to touch the towel and all that stuff. I just think that at a certain point that managing that energy becomes a difficult thing, the more you're feeling this pressure and perhaps this anxiousness and this grand desire for a certain result.
I agree, but remember, we're talking about boys, basically. I mean, that's another thing we sometimes forget as hockey fans, baseball fans, or whatever your sport is. I look at those kids. We're recording this, by the way, on the 25th of June. Montreal just, got to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they're kids. They really are. I mean, you've got sons in that age group. I've got daughters, 23 and 26. They're children. So when we talk about the maturation process or how John Rahm reacts or doesn't, or Bryce, we're talking about, like, I know when I was 25, I thought I was grown up, but now that I'm 100, the other thing I'd say about Bryson, I just want to get through this last 9 holes of his, because he made a triple and then he made a quad, but I think it's exactly, well, partly what you said about once the notion of being able to win, because at the turn he was tied for the lead or close to it.
Yeah.
And then it was just gone. And I was surprised because he's a decade guy. That's right. The first decade mention of the day. Not the Thank you. Thank you very much. Everyone take a drink. I've mentioned decade that only took 16 minutes. All right. I was really shocked because he was an early adopter. He's one of Fawcett's first guys. This was back in the NCAA times, and it really surprised me that he was in that. Again, he's now one of the top players, and he thought he could advance that ball, but he couldn't, and that was the end of it. Okay.
You want to go back to Mac Hughes for a sec?
Yes, and then we got a pin. I'm gonna take you forward to another pin. And then I'm going to talk to you. I haven't even introduced today's topic yet, but I think you're going to love it. So what is your last Mac Hughes thing?
I just think that most of the time in golf, we fail.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time. And I just think Mac Hughes, like most PGA Tour players, just, okay, well, it stung. I hoped I would do better.
Mm-hmm.
I dreamed of winning, whatever. But that's just a really good learning experience. I think that's what the best players in the world do, and great amateurs. It's always like, what did I learn from this? Like, Mac had never been in that position before. And I love the way he conducted himself, and that will just bode well. And that's why he's there, is just the, learning from one thing, take it to the next tournament. What'd you learn there? Take it to the next thing.
And that's it. As a, as a person myself, I love and I live in my golfing life. I really love tournament play. I had a little tournament, Senior Ryder Cup thing on Tuesday, and even though it was just a friendly match, our club against a bunch of other clubs, in the moments of competition, I love it. It really it turns me on to be nervous and under pressure and have to sink putts. And, there were a couple of moments in this match where, and we were playing, we played the other best guys. So I was, they were very good players and they beat us, but it was a very close match. It was like, you get 2 points for the front, 2 points for the back, and 2 points for the overall. And they birdied the 9th hole to win the front 9, 1 up. We tied the last hole it was a really good match. At one point, one of their players hit about 190-yard shot from the rough to 2 feet.
Ooh.
And it was alternate shots. So my partner hit one up on the green, and I had a 9-foot putt to tie the guy. And even though it was and didn't mean anything match in Bridgewater, whatever golf course on a Tuesday afternoon, when I sank that 9-foot putt to cut the guy off, believe me, I fist pumped. And I'm not doing it on. My point is, I love it, but I also want to be a gracious loser. Yes, I was pissed that we lost, but I wanted to look the guys in the eye and say, "Listen, you guys played great today, and we played good." Like, it was one of those matches where, there were some good shots on both sides. My point is, that's the reason I play. I like that situation. It's not for everybody, and it doesn't mean that you're not a good golfer if you don't enjoy it. But as you said, Mac Hughes is there to gather experience. I'm not just flexing here, as the kids say. I've gathered enough experience so that when I feel that little weird feeling just below your sternum, I interpret it now as excitement as well as nerves, right? Because that's the interpretation. Physiologically and psychologically, those feelings are very similar. You're nervous tomorrow morning on the first tee of your club championship. It can also be interpreted as excitement.
Totally. Yeah. And isn't that a great way to live? Isn't that like a vibrant,
Oh yeah.
a vibrant way to live? My goodness. But it's funny. I was talking to a client yesterday and I was reflecting. So I was rep hockey goalie, and I remember getting ready for games and everything. And it's like, wow, I'm really looking forward to this. And then a part of me would go, never mind. I just want to go home and sleep for 3 months. I could be watching TV right now. I don't need to go on the ice and have guys take, slap shots at my head and worry whether I'm going to let in a soft goal from center. But I think that's what we're searching for in this. Not searching for, but that's the stuff that keeps us moving forward. Is that excitement, that joy and fear. That's what excitement really is. It's a mixture of joy and fear at the same time. Because we want to find out just how good we are and have some fun and like when people score goals and whatnot, why do they go ape shit? Because it's just this thing we want to do as humans, and we've overcome this challenge and all that, whether it's like getting food back when we were Neanderthals to, Montreal scoring in overtime.
That's
a segue. That's a bridge.
I loved it. I followed every moment of it.
Thank you.
I so relate to what you said about, why do we do that? Why do we put ourselves in those situations? And, some people, again, they don't like, I know a guy, doesn't matter. He's a very, very, very good golfer. He just doesn't like playing tournaments for various reasons. So he doesn't play in the club championship anymore. And he doesn't play in a lot of GAO events because at some point in his life, he became uncomfortable with having to post a score. And the way I put it is putting yourself in harm's way. And, we've talked a lot about, one mid-am a few years ago, I shot 92 in the first round and that score got posted and I got to my car and there was like dozens of messages, Bondi calling me, are you okay? You know what I mean? So I've shot 92 and I've shot, 69. And I can tell you the number of people that give a shit and a half is about the same, right?
Exactly.
But very many nights I've gone downtown and gone on stage in front of 300 people and I'm in the back in the green room waiting and looking at my stuff and I'm thinking to myself, why? I don't need to be here. I have RRSPs. I don't need I am older than everyone. You could take two people in any of that group in that crowd on a Saturday night. I'm older than any two people in the room. I don't need to be there, but I put myself in that situation because just what you said, I kind of want to see how I'll show up. Also, it becomes addictive to like that feeling of being a little bit uncomfortable and can you overcome it? And if you don't do well, what does that feel like? Which is why I gravitate towards tournament golf because, our senior club championship is this weekend. And I know tomorrow I'll be nervous and excited, but I also know that, I'm okay in those situations. I have shown, I know in my, they talk about trust. I trust that in those situations, even if I don't prevail, I'll be fine. That being said, if you check this episode a year ago, yes, after the first round, I punched the inside of my car repeatedly. I'm a flawed, spiritual leader.
Oh, even though you are a spiritual leader, you're still a human.
So funny. I'm laughing because my eldest daughter called me last night. She's like, are you ready, Papa, for the club championship? Because I told her on, Father's Day. I said, yeah, I feel pretty good. I said, I'm in a good space. I didn't even get the full sentence out. I go, I think I'm in a, pretty good space and motion. He goes, oh, you mean, are you the same guy that punched the inside of his car a year ago? I'm like, oh yeah, that's me.
You're also defending champion.
Yeah, I am defending champion, and I've done well. Like 3 of the last 4 years, I have finished first. I lost in a playoff. I won it twice, but I also recognize there's lots of good golfers, and Dustin Johnson, number 1 player in the world, didn't win the U.S. Open. And you got to because golf is hard. And, I just before you came on the Zoom call, I was talking to my buddy Henrik, and I said, I know one thing I can guarantee this weekend is I won't beat myself. I mean, I may have a bad round, and because golf is hard and bounces are unpredictable, but I won't go out tomorrow and get down on myself if I make a triple bogey, which I did on the second hole of the tournament last year, because I've done all those things. So I'm not ready to put a pin in this, but I'll say, just as a segue, whether it's your club championship, your Saturday round, or you're just having a nice day on the golf course, you can only guarantee a couple things. You can guarantee your attitude, you can guarantee your process. You can't guarantee your ability, because that sort of changes every day.
Totally.
But you can take care of a lot of things that we talk about on the show. Those are predictable. So I've already guaranteed myself, and I'll say it to you, that I won't lose this. Someone's going to have to beat me, but I won't make a decision that will beat me. If I have to make a double bogey on a hole and that's the best I can do, I'll make the double. I won't try and hit a shot and make a quad. I just know that. So I can guarantee that. And if I shoot 80-80 and lose by 20, that's fine. I'll know that those were the best 80 shots I could take on that day. I just know that about myself.
Well, I really look forward to our next show when I can interview you and say, hey,
the post round.
The post round, yeah, and we won't start with birdies and bogeys.
That's right.
You'd be wearing your TaylorMade hat because it's your sponsor, and you'd be wearing your Fairway and Green or Beach Ratty shirt. Make sure you have all that stuff.
Hey Tim, I thought we would do a quick pivot here. I like that one too. Let's unpack some of our viewer emails. Do you have it in front of you?
No, but I can find it.
Well, because I thought it was written to you. I should have given you a warning.
That's cool.
So you find it.
We do this podcast through our computers, so it's rather convenient. I'm sitting right here.
This came to us from Cameron Scott, and if you want to write us, you can. It's can I give out your email?
Yeah,
I do all the time. Tim, what is it? O'Connor. Tim at
O'ConnorGolf.ca.
Tim at O'ConnorGolf.ca. And humbleHoward@gmail.com. I probably should have a golf spiritual leader handle on there, but I don't.
You should. What? Howard at GSL.com.
That's right. Howard at Ascended to Golf Nirvana. So do you have the email?
I do.
Please, would you favor us with it?
Coach Tim, I'm happy that Ontario has finally lifted restriction on golf. Wanted to share a quick note. 12 handicap here. Broke 80 for the first time in a couple of years yesterday with my father-in-law on looking.
Nice.
Yours and GSL's advice on, quote, not creating a story ahead of time, unquote, popped up a few times in my round today. I was aware of the story forming in my head as the closing holes of the round approached. And like a good lad, I told myself, those are good thoughts. Let's put them aside and focus on the next shot. I felt a resolute confidence and a noticeable intention within each stroke that followed. Thanks again for the help. And he goes, 79 includes a double and a triple bogey, but that's just a story.
I love that. And Cameron, two things. Thanks for sharing that story with us. And of course, thank you for referring to me as GSL. Exactly. That gives you extra points. He, you kind of missed his sign off before he said, so he signs it off. Thanks again for the help. And then he says, Ave Sol Invictus.
That's because I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Which is Latin for hail to the eternal sun undefeated. Ave Sol Invictus ad eterne. Hail to the eternal sun undefeated. I love the shit out of that.
That is amazing. And yeah, thank you for enlightening me on that. I thought maybe it was Greek or Greek Latin. That's not all the same stuff, is it?
I don't know. I just looked it up on the internet. But I love the sentiment that hail to the eternal sun. That is what golf is. It's a nod to, eternally looking to the heavens for inspiration. But isn't that great? I mean, it is so good, the idea of knowing, because the thing is, in any round, whether it's good or bad, in all these rounds we talk about, I have those thoughts. I feel the story forming. Mm-hmm. We all start to get ahead of ourselves, especially if we're playing well. But what I wanted to introduce to you today is what I call pathways to improvement, or pathways to par, the PTP system. This will be my webinar. This is what it's about. So just what you'll learn in pathways to par or pathways to improvement. I'm not really 100% sure.
So folks, if you come back, this is coming at the 44-minute mark. So you could just bookmark that, where to go.
31-minute mark.
Keep coming back to this.
31-minute mark.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, we've been talking, you and I.
Yeah. See, I can see on the recording.
Yeah.
So what's in pathways to par? And I've thought a lot about this. So I wanted to offer it to you and see what your feedback would be. I think you can divide golf into 3 different sections, or any golf game has these 3 elements: skills, strategy, and scoring. And as I said to you, talking
they
about,
all start with S.
They do. A little alliteration in there for you.
Lovely.
The reason I say about, I can only guarantee this weekend that I'm going to show up, and I won't beat myself. I won't make a swing until I'm ready. I won't make a decision that isn't thought through, and I'm going to try and make as many committed swings as I can. And I'm scoring myself these days. Dr. Michael Larden wrote a book, and he's another decade guy. All right, hang on.
Really?
Oh yeah. Okay. So, because decade, in the way you enter your statistics, you have a chance to give yourself a score on your mental focus on the hole. Even if you make a bogey, so the bogey is 5, and so you give yourself a score at a 5, and let's say maybe you sort of fell asleep on the chip shot, you weren't really focused on where you wanted the ball to land, you give yourself a 4 out of 5. And I've mentioned this before, most tour pros sort of rock around a 95%. Most amateurs rock around a 70%. And over the last 10 or 12 rounds, I'm in the sort of 90 percentiles. Like my 69, the day I shot 69, I was at 95%. The day I shot 87, I was not. So back to the PTP program. So you have skills, you have strategy, and you have scoring. Your skills, as you and I have talked endlessly about, they change day to day. Some days you're feeling, like you're flushing it, and some days you might be drawing it on the range and you just go, whatever. But your skills vary day to day, but there's kind of a baseline. Like if I took you out to a golf course today, you would hit some good shots, you'd hit some bad shots, but your overall, shots would be of a certain level because you're of a certain level. So your skills are variable, but they're somewhat dependable because, it's not like tomorrow I'm going to go out and forget how to hit a bunker shot. It may not be the best bunker shot, but I have a certain amount of skills. But the strategy and scoring, those can be fixed. And what I mean by that is, let's take Bryson. His strategy on that hole led him to make a triple bogey, not his skills. And of course, in the, the silos here are, the mental attitude and all the other things that are sort of subsections. But strategically, you can guarantee that you're going to try and make as many good decisions on any given golf day. That is something you can, as Doolin would say, those are, the kind of things you can take care of. Take care of the things you can take care of. And strategy and scoring, because here's the other thing that used to happen to me, and maybe it happens to you too. When I wasn't hitting the ball well, that's all I thought about all day.
Totally. Yep.
I was just beside myself trying to fix my swing. And we've talked a million times about this, but I now recognize that what it took me away from is the strategy that led to scoring, because when I was not hitting it well, I stopped thinking about chipping and putting and approaching well, because I was so obsessed with why do I suck at ball hitting. So strategy and scoring are things you can guarantee. And again, obviously you can't guarantee you're going to get up and down, but what you can at least guarantee, even on a hole where you hit it shit, is you can guarantee you're going to do the best you can to get it as close as you can. And if that means you have to hit away from the pin because it's right over a bunker, whatever it is, if you're a 15 handicap and you're beside the green in 2 and you're trying to hit a flop shot over a bunker to a near pin, that's bad strategy, which leads to shitty scoring. But strategy to the middle of the green and 2-putt for bogey, well, good on you. And so in the PTI program, or PTP, I haven't decided, what we'll teach you is in that area, that every round of golf you play has an element of skill, which you have sort of baseline. You have an element of strategy and an element of scoring. And sometimes we get so hung up on where are my skills today that we forget, and this is where I'm going to wrap it up, we forget that you can still make good decisions on a bad swinging day, and you can still make the best scoring decisions to minimize the vagaries of the game. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
Well, I'm sort of sad that it ended. That was so good. That's a milestone moment.
I got more
on Swing Thoughts.
I got more.
No, that was so good. I'll give you a great example of exactly what you're talking about. Last night,
talk to me.
Playing at Blue Spring.
I'm listening.
Thank you, Fraser Crane and GSL. So I pull my drive a bit on number 14 at Blue Springs. So it's kind of in the trees, but I've got about 185 left. I mean, it didn't go very far. But if I hit a low 5-iron, I might be able to run it up in front of the green and a pitch on. So, but the ball's on a very severe downhill lie, and I got to make sure I keep it low. And I make such a quick, tense swing that I actually fall down after hitting it.
I love that.
And it scuttles about, 60 yards into another, anyways, I end up making double bogey.
Now,
if I had have just taken my wedge, popped it out there on about a 45-degree angle, it would have been a very easy wedge and likely a bogey. So there you go, folks. That's a perfect example of how strategy, if I didn't, that was a poor decision I made that led to poor scoring.
I love that example for about a half dozen reasons, but I'll tell you the top 2. Number 1, it had nothing to do with Tim O'Connor and how he swings a golf club. But because you didn't, and I'm going to say the second part, and this is how I would analyze that, because it happens to me. I'm not say shock, but there's still a little bit of the stink on of hitting it where you hit it. And this is what separates elite amateurs and pros from the rest of us. Is that a pro walks up to that shot and goes, okay, now what's the shot here? And I'm not saying you didn't do that, but you rather than do the smarter thing, you tried to do something that was less, likely to work out, because you were trying to make up somewhere mentally, even as involved as you are, trying to make up the stroke you just lost.
Right.
And one of my favorite sayings about bad shots is you don't need to follow a bad shot with a great shot. You just need to follow a bad shot with an okay shot. Because if you follow a bad shot with another bad shot, now you're behind it and you're just trying to make it up.
Yep.
I'll give you a great example. The other night on men's night, I was, I can tell you I've been playing. I think everyone's figured it out. I'm playing pretty well. And I go out on men's night. I birdie 3 of the first 8 holes, and I shoot 2 under par in the front 9.
Sweet.
It's kind of going along. And because I had been under par on several 9 holes, it was exciting, but that little weird feeling in my sternum wasn't as vibrating. And I get to a short par 4, the 11th hole of my round, and it's only a 4-iron. It's number 2 at Speyside. It's 334 yards. I hit 4-iron, gap wedge, or 9-iron or wedge, depending on how good I hit my 4-iron. So I'm over the ball. I'm 2 under par through 10 holes. This is ridiculous. The Glencairn train goes by me. It's and people who know that hole, it's only a few yards away, and it's really noisy and really loud, and it's not making the horn sound, but it's really close to me, and I'm over the ball. This is like golf or swing thoughts 101.
Yeah.
I'm over the ball, and for the first time that day, I don't take my full turn, and I make this quick swing, as you described, and I flash my 4-iron out there, which normally goes about 200, 210. I hit it about 140 in the air. It catches the top of this bunker that I don't even remember is there, and now it goes in the bunker. That was kind of weird. So I have to basically, I have no shot at the green. If you know the hole, it's 150 yards away, and the bunker's 10 feet deep. So I just hit a bunker shot, plopped it back out on the fairway, 130 to the flag. It's a little bit uphill. And I make a beautiful swing with a 9-iron, thinking I'm taking lots of extra club, and I just get a gust of wind. It just hits the top of the little pot bunker, goes in the bunker. Now I'm 3 in that bunker. I do my decade. Okay, all right, hang on. I do the decade thing where I'm not trying to hit this. It's a long bunker shot, not trying to hit it too close, so I splash it out. Good contact, 9 feet away. Beautiful putt. I just lip out, and I make a double bogey. Now, I gave myself a 5 out of 6 mental score on that hole because I only made one bad mental decision. The rest of it, I played out the best I could. I literally focused on every shot. And golf, I got a little bit of bad luck because, there are very few times where I'm going to even hit a horrible 4-iron and hit it in that bunker. I'm more likely to hit it, 180 versus 200. So the moral of that story is golf is, I didn't make a bad decision, except I should have stepped away when that train went by. But after that, I didn't make it worse. I didn't try and hit a hero shot out of the bunker. I got a little bit of bad luck on my 3rd shot because it was like when it left my club, I thought, oh, that's going to be either close or on the green for sure. And then you could just see the wind came up and slapped it down because I made good contact. But the point is, you can still try and do the right thing and still make a double bogey, but I didn't make it worse and I didn't make triple and ended up shooting, a pretty decent score anyway. I think I ended up shooting 73. The point is, I didn't feel any, that kind of shitty feeling. I didn't feel bad going to the next hole because I thought, hey man, sometimes golf, gives you some bad luck, and I just got a little unlucky, and I knew I should have stepped away from that swing. So that's what I learned.
Totally. Again, I love that it's about the learning, and thank you for, even though you are GSL, for confirming your humanity.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're gonna do stuff like that. There's a noise, and last night we're on the 3rd tee, and we're having fun. We're really having fun, and I had a nice start, and I don't know what I forget what I was talking about, but I didn't go through my process.
Yeah.
And I hit this atrocious shot. And the guys go like, where'd that come from? And I look back and I could see the club hit about 4 inches behind the ball. And
that's right.
And like, whoa, like not a swing I normally make. But the only thing, I was glad I laughed about it. And certainly they laughed, but I was just, okay, you didn't follow your process. So anyways, we do stuff like that. We're humans, for gosh sakes.
But it's, it's interesting. Like when you say your first thought was I didn't follow my process. And that's basically what happened to me, because that swing had nothing to do with my skills.
Right.
I wasn't like walking toward that bunker thinking, how do I hit a 4-iron again? Like where again, and that's where I used to be when this show began, is I would have spent the entire rest of the day wondering why I hit that shot. I knew as soon as that happened, I was like, and I actually said, "Oh, come on, Howard, seriously!" Like the
Exactly.
fucking train was just rumbling by, and it's very close. And again, it's not an excuse, but I
No.
know how to hit a 4-iron. I could have hit 7-iron farther than the hole's only 330, so whatever, maybe, and it was the front tee, so I probably could have hit 6-iron over that bunker. So it had nothing to do with skills. As far as strategy goes, I did the right thing. I just splashed it out. I didn't try and get it further than I didn't bite off more than I could chew. Third shot, I thought I made a nice swing, a little draw 9-iron. It should have been enough. And when it left my club, I thought, oh, good swing. And I see it hit the bunker and literally the last foot, and it went back in the bunker. Again, strategically, I went through the rest of that hole and made a double bogey, just lipped out for the bogey. Nice putt.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked to the next tee, and I didn't feel any of that weird electrical, I suck at golf swing. I get up on the next tee, hit it another beautiful 9-iron, same club. Thank you, golf. Hit that to 9 feet. Didn't make the putt, but that's fine. My point is, if you're taking care of strategy and scoring in the pathways, and by the way, it's not pathway. Pathways means there's lots of ways to par, lots of ways to make soft
You've
bogeys
thought this
around.
through.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because most people think there's only a pathway to excellence. But listen, the O'Connor golf system is all about lots of ways to enjoy the game and feel better about it while lowering your score. But that's not just hitting better tee shots or having a better swing. Like if we had spent the last 6 years working on golf swing talk on this show, we still wouldn't have it solved.
No. Who can?
No
Tell
one.
me. So Fred Shoemaker has a great story. He talked about going in front of, I think it was the Texas PGA. He's standing in front of, this gathering of many golf professionals. And he got up there and he says, I don't know how to swing a golf club, and I don't think you do either. And he goes, what do you think happened? Yeah, a shitstorm. And and he says, he went, really, can you tell me which neuron fires that sparks a certain muscle to contract and another one to relax? And no one can tell you that so we can. That's the issue, I think, really, is that we get so stuck in trying to figure out how to move this machine, with this kind of like Atari level little shitbox with this millions of years of evolution, this magnificent machine. We don't know how it works, but somehow it figures out how to walk down stairs, how to catch itself when it slip on ice, and how to hit a nice 4-iron. It just has deeper wisdom than we have. But I mean, the thing I wanted to also connect to was around, your example is a perfect example of awareness. And George McNamara talked about it. A little preview. We're going to get into this with Sam Jarman next week on the next episode of Swing Thoughts. So awareness, to me, is like what's actually happening right now as it happening. So last night on 13, I was not aware that I was making a decision that I would be tense, that probably had a low probability of working out. You didn't have awareness that, oh, I'm being distracted by this train and I could step away and restart. That, to me, is when we're talking about awareness, is what's happening, and then we're able to respond.
Yeah.
You respond to that, please, sir.
Well, let me just soak it all in for a second.
I snorted. That was good.
I'm just getting a little weird mic noise on my microphone here.
I know. I snorted. I threw everything off.
Yeah, I think that it's. Hang on. I may have to just change the microphone here.
We're having what we call technical difficulties right now.
Yeah, and
Are your people trying to figure it out?
it happened a few times on the Humble and Fred show this week, and I thought I'd fixed it, but I think it might have to do with the Zoom. Because can you not hear it? Like my microphone is. Does that not? You not hear that sound?
No, I can't. But I don't have your volume all the way up.
No, I know. Well, let's just try and. I don't know if this will show up actually on the podcast. Anyhow, you know, when I was under par the other night, yeah, I was aware that was happening, but because of some recent experience, it wasn't foremost in my brain. I wasn't starting to future, oh, I'm going to win men's night. You know, I wasn't doing any of that. I was just like, okay. I had a notion that I think I could be not like, oh, this is going to be a low one, but I do remember somewhere after I made the third birdie thinking, this would be kind of cool if I could shoot like, you know, I wonder how low could I go? Not that I was going to press it, but I had this sort of awareness like, you know, that's an interesting idea. And then I thought about it for a second. I went, well, that's not going to help you on this next tee shot.
That's right.
But I did have those
And that's
thoughts.
awareness. And that's awareness right there.
So I had some awareness that this was happening. It was exciting, but a little bit of experience recently. I'm like, okay, I can handle it. You know, I've had 4 nines in the last 2 weeks where I was under par. So nothing about that tee shot where I dinked it into the bunker was about me pressing, but it was a lack of awareness in that moment. What I felt good about, and the way I reframed it, if you want to use that hackneyed phrase, is I went, okay, that was a bit of an error of awareness, not of golf skill. And what I think the big takeaway I'd want our swing thought nerds to hear is that thinking about your golf skill makes less time to think about the strategy and scoring part of every round you play.
Totally.
And the problem is, as I mentioned, I'll say it again, if I had spent time worrying about why I all of a sudden hit a 4-iron into a bunker 160 yards away, I might have been tempted to try and hit that second shot out of this pit of despair further than that's what Glencairn has. They're not bunkers, they're just pits of despair. By the way, for you kids following along at home, that's a Princess Bride reference. So I might have been tempted, like a lot of us, to hit a more of a hero shot, see how far I could get it down there. But I'm like, I'm 150 yards from the green. If I hit this bunker shot 15 yards, I'll have 135. I should probably be able to hit the green from there. I was wrong, but I was aware enough at that moment to continue to golf my ball strategically, and double bogey was the best score I could make in that hole. And if you look at the game that way, as Decade would say, all right, as Decade would say, and that's why back to full circle Bryson DeChameltdown, I played the highest percentages to give me the lowest score.
Yep.
You know, I was 1 foot in the air from making a simple bogey on that hole. I lipped out for bogey on the hole, did my very best to minimize the damage of that, we'll call it a penalty shot. Now, the rest of that round, I played very nicely. I made a bogey on 17, hit the 18th green into a par 5. No, not from the Reds, although if I were you, that's what I would have said. I hit the par 5 in 2, but the ball rolled over the green, over the fringe, and then settled down about an inch or 2 into this clump of grass. If it had stopped 3 inches before that, I would have had a simple 40-footer, 2-putt, made a birdie, shot even par. But it was in a clump of grass. I put the ball back in my stance in it with a putter and blooped it out of there. It went about 9 feet by the hole. I missed that putt. And yes, I said fuck. But my point is, so that didn't work out in my favor, but nothing about it left me thinking, oh, I can't putt now. Again, a Decade, one of my favorite things they say is that winning is a matter of luck. And I would say, forget winning, scoring is always a matter of some amount of luck. Always. And I think as golfers, we forget that. And we think it's up to us. We're all type A personalities and obsessive, and, our nature. But this as well as anyone I've ever met. There's an element of just randomness to it all. But if you don't keep that top of mind, you think you're in control. We're not. We have no control.
Totally. No. So, Yeah, again, if we come back, so maybe I should have every time I mention Fred Shoemaker, we should do some kind of sound drinking game. There you go. As we said many times on this show before, quoting the great Fred, perform it, how you play. Oh, I don't get the initial part of it. This is like the Steve Martin thing. This guru told me so many years ago, I'll never forget it.
That's right.
No, wait. Here it is. No, Fred talks about performance is based on, you can take, it's your learning that you take today into tomorrow, but you can't, your performance will not dictate your performance the next day. You shot 69, and then the next couple of days you shot 87.
Yeah,
I
right.
shot the same thing. I shot I think a 75 last year. My next round was an 87. It's about what you learn. So to circle back to Mac Hughes, what he's taking from that was his learning in that situation. So here you are, you've had a couple of rounds now in the last couple of weeks where you've been under par. So now when you found yourself under par, you've been in that territory before.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this new exciting thing. It's okay, cool. It's still, it is exciting, but it's not, oh my gosh, this is a new territory I've never been in. And that's why you watch players like Mac Hughes and other people who suddenly find themselves, maybe they've won a tournament or two, and they find themselves back nine on Sunday at a major, and generally they throw up all over the shoes.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're not used to being there. And so the more, and I remember someone saying to Mo Norman, how do you become tournament tough? Playing tournaments.
Playing tournaments. If I may just interject quickly, you know what? Jack Nicklaus, he finished like 16 or 17 times finished second in majors. He won 18 majors, but his record in the majors is even dwarfs that of Tiger. Like his ability to stay near the lead in a big tournament. And what did Nicklaus used to say? He talked a lot about how he knew that given those situations, a lot of people were going to fade away. And as long as, like, Nicklaus wasn't shooting 63 to win, then whatever. No. He was just shooting. And same with Tiger. Tiger wasn't like a go low guy. Tiger was just going to 68 and 69 and 70 you to death. And same with Nicklaus. And Nicklaus knew that given most people's tension level in big events, that all he had to do was just maintain. Again, please don't think I'm comparing myself. I just know that tomorrow will be, since 2017, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So this is my 5th year going back to playing tournament golf. I've been in that situation a lot. I've also been in that situation and seen, myself, sort of handle it okay. So again, I can't tell you how I'm going to flush it or not tomorrow, but given the fact that I kind of trust that I have a baseline ability, but I know that, over the course of 2 days, I have recent experience. Last year, I shot 80 in the first round, and I banged my fists like a child against the interior of my car. But I came back the next day, had a good round, while everyone else, frankly, shit the bed, and I tied for the lead. So I know that tomorrow, whether I get off to a good start or a bad start, or I double the second hole, doesn't matter. Because I know, just given human nature, that most people will also feel that way. And we forget that. We forget that, you were on men's night yesterday, and if you we've talked about this. If you bogey the 10th hole at Blue Springs, you are gaining on the field.
Exactly.
But sometimes we forget that. If you make a 6 there, you probably only lost 3/4 of a shot on men's night.
Well, that's one of the key takeaways that I've got from the decade. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The decade schooling that we've been having, thank you, Professor, is how you relate to the field. And that's part of competition, whether it's men's night or the Saturday morning league or whatever it is. It's like, I think I bogeyed 8 yesterday. So that's like 10 for me. So for me, if I make a 5 on the par 4 8th, that's a par for me. And the thing is, I know I'm not losing strokes to the field at all.
Yeah.
But the
tough
thing I
hole.
just want to come back to is just I think that what I love what you're talking about is going into defending your championship. So there'd be a lot of people who they might identify, oh, I'm the champion. I'm supposed to play at a certain level. And when you start to get into that thinking, that's when it can really go sideways for you. You know, as Rory McIlroy talked about, if your self-esteem rides on the scores you shoot, that's a perilous journey.
Yeah.
But I think because I got to wind this up. I got to be out of here in about 10 minutes. I should have probably let you know that in advance.
That's fine.
But if we focus more on the decisions we make and the strategy, that takes so much stress out of. I love this phrase you've come up with, ball hitting. It takes so much of that stress away. And so if you're not hitting your driver well, maybe hit your hybrid. Maybe even hit a 5-iron. Get it in the fairway. Find it. And when we start to make these better decisions, there's so much less stress on your skill part of your game.
Absolutely. And that's a really great discovery. I'm going to add that to Pathways to Par. By being good strategically and focusing on scoring as a goal to do the best score you can, it does take some pressure off your skill. For instance, again, I hit my third shot into a pot bunker. I was about 15 yards away from the hole. Maybe not, about 45 feet. But if I'd have been trying to get that close, now it's another deep bunker, not a pit of despair, but it's not an easy shot, even with being able to touch the golf ball and take it out of a footprint. But my goal was to make a nice bunker shot, splash it out, make sure I make good contact with the sand, and I splashed it out and I hit it to 9 feet, which is about average on the PGA Tour, according to what?
That.
So my strategy was good. I was focused on scoring within my skill set, and I almost made the bogey. What I didn't make was a sculled shot over the green and chipped back and made a quad for no reason. And I've told my brothers this, and I'll tell you nerds this. Not making triple and not making double as often as you can is easier to do than making birdies. It just is. And it will have a huge impact on your score, which has nothing to do with your skill. Thank you and good night.
I'm just going to add to that. So I played with Dr. John last night.
Dr. John, I love his stuff. Might have been the
Dr.
right place.
John.
Could have been the wrong time.
I know. I love that. You don't quite have the gravel. You got to smoke some Pall Malls and drink a lot of whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, Dr. John, his driver has been misbehaving. Oh, yeah.
So keep telling the story.
Yeah.
While we
So,
to the sounds of
so the
Dr.
driver's
John.
the driver's in the penalty box.
Yeah, man.
So he's playing some par fours, some of which are 380-ish to 400.
Yeah.
He's hitting 5-irons off tees.
Good for
And
Dr.
just
John.
Boop, boop, boop. And he's making easy bogeys because there's not a lot of stress. He knows that with like a 5-iron, or I'm guessing that's kind of what he was hitting off tees, that he's making these relaxed swings. He's in essence making aggressive swings to conservative targets. I mean, he's got a big honking fairway. Bops it down there, bops it down again, bops it on the green, 2 putts. Thank you.
That 8th hole at Blue Springs, if you made bogey there for the summer, you would be basically losing no strokes.
100%.
Forget men's night. On any given day, you could hit 5-iron, 5-iron, or 5-iron, 7-iron wedge, maybe make the odd par, but you'd be way ahead of the number of times that double bogey and triple bogey on that hole is in play. It is a really I always forget how tough that hole is. That and 10 are the two toughest holes on that golf course.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much to everyone. Thanks to was it Cameron Scott?
Cameron Scott.
All right, Cam.
He's an STD.
Love that. And of course, thank you to Jonathan Wong, JWapparelinc.com, Royal Albatross PRG, Garb, EPNY, B Dratty, Zero Restriction, and of course, F&G. And TaylorMade Golf. Look at you. Look at us playing TaylorMade stuff. Haven't even talked about how much I love the Spider putter. The new Spider I'm playing is just.
I got last year's. I'm still loving it.
Yeah, me too. I have it as my backup now. TaylorMadeGolf.ca to learn more. Don't forget there's irons and, of course, the TP5 ball, the little Pix ball there that Ricky Fowler uses.
And Matt Wolf.
Oh, yeah. And Ricky Fowler's got his wife pregnant. I don't know if you saw that. Good for him.
Hey, my son Sean's getting fitted at the TaylorMade Lab in Woodbridge on Monday.
Well, that is exciting news.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a good dad and lad trip.
Nice. I love it. Well, listen, everybody. O'ConnorGolf.ca. Tim at O'ConnorGolf.com or .ca is your email.
.ca.
Okay, and HumbleHoward@gmail.com. If you want to respond, like and subscribe, all that stuff. And we will see you next week, everybody.